climate change is usually framed as an environmental crisis, rising temperatures, floods, extreme weather. But what if its most powerful impacts aren't just ecological, but deeply personal? What if climate change is influencing decisions about family, work, and even where people move? Hi, I'm Anirudh Tagat, and this is a look at ongoing research at Monk Prayogshala, where we're exploring how climate shocks are shaping everyday human decisions in ways that we don't often talk about. Let's begin with a question that feels far removed from climate change: reproductive choices. There's a common assumption that decisions around whether or not to start a family, or even how many children to have, are shaped primarily by social or economic factors. But this strand of research asks, what happens when environmental uncertainty becomes part of that equation? This study focuses on the impact of climate shocks on sexual and reproductive health in India, bringing in much needed insights from the global south, particularly the Indian subcontinent, where this area remains under-researched. As climate-induced challenges like extreme weather events, resource scarcity, and environmental degradation become more frequent, they introduce new forms of uncertainty into people's lives. These uncertainties begin to influence key decisions about not just whether to have children, but also the timing, the number, and broader reproductive aspirations of individuals and families. And for those who do choose to become parents, climate change is shaping parenting approaches as well, from adopting more sustainable lifestyles to making conscious decisions about consumption and environmental impacts. But this research goes beyond behavior. It looks at the deeper forces at play, the psychosocial, economic, and environmental factors that together shape reproductive decision-making in a changing climate. Importantly, climate change and women's health remains a significantly under-researched area, especially in the Indian context. Given the country's vast regional diversity in climate, culture, and social norms, the experiences of sexuality, reproduction, and health may vary widely. Understanding how climate change intersects with access to sexual and reproductive health services is critical for planning health systems going forward. Extreme heat events or floods could hinder access in areas where public health centers are few and far between. In the case of reproductive health, this could mean delaying care for time-sensitive issues. This research is meant to explore how fertility choices, climate change, and sexual and reproductive health are related. By doing so, our work not only contributes to global conversations, but also has the potential to inform policies that uphold reproductive autonomy, strengthen gender equity, and build more climate-resilient health systems. Ever used bad weather as an excuse to skip work? Turns out it might actually be valid. Our next project looks at a simple but powerful question. Does bad weather affect how much we work? The logic is simple. If there's heavy rain, extreme heat, or storms, commuting becomes harder. So people might miss work fewer hours, or shift to working from home. In this study, we're planning to use detailed data on how people spend their time from the Indian Time Use Survey to track how working hours change during bad weather. Here's the thing. It's not just about whether people work less, it's also about how work changes. For example, do people work more from home? And what happens to productivity? Does it actually drop or just shift?
Migration, one of the most widely discussed consequences of climate change. There's a dominant narrative that climate migrants, especially from the sub-Saharan African region, are moving towards the OECD countries. But this research challenges that assumption. It focuses instead on intra-regional migration, meaning movement within the sub-Saharan African countries, and also because it is considered to be one of the most climate vulnerable regions in the world. Using a gravity model of migration and extensive data from 48 sub-Saharan African countries for over 3 decades, the study examines how climate stress interacts with economic, demographic, social, and political factors. And what it finds is far more complex than just a cause and effect relationship. Climate variables like temperature and drought do not consistently drive migration. Rainfall anomalies sometimes play a role, but only under specific conditions. Economic opportunities such as higher income levels and stronger agricultural productivity play a much more significant role in attracting migrants. And in some cases, political instability or conflict actually reduces migration because it becomes too risky to travel. So, rather than a single narrative, migration emerges emerges as a layered process, shaped not just by climate but also by governance, economics, and social realities. So, what does all of this tell us? That climate change is not just an environmental issue, it is a human one. It is influencing how people plan their families, how they work, and how they move. And importantly, all of this research is still going on, which means we are only beginning to understand the full extent of how climate shocks are shaping everyday life. If you're interested in where this research goes next, stay with us because these are only stories that are just starting to be told. Thanks for watching. This was part of our debunking series where we break down common assumptions using ongoing research. These papers are still in progress, but if you'd like to explore and know more about our work, visit our official website through the link in the bio. And don't forget to subscribe to Monk Prayogshala for more research explained in just a few minutes.